The desert wind carried the scent of sand and diesel fuel across the forward operating base as Lieutenant Sarah Chun stepped off the transport helicopter. Her boots hit the packed earth with a solid thud, and she immediately felt the weight of dozens of eyes upon her. The Special Operations Compound in eastern Afghanistan was a place where reputations were built and destroyed in moments, where every operator was measured not by their rank or credentials, but by their ability to complete the mission when everything went wrong. Sarah had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. Her journey to this dusty outpost had begun in the sterile corridors of the Naval Academy, where she had graduated summa cum laude with a degree in strategic studies. But academic excellence meant little in a world where split-second decisions could mean the difference between life and death. What mattered here was her performance during the grueling months of training that had pushed her physical and mental limits beyond what she thought possible. The selection process had been brutal. Of the 47 candidates who had started the specialized program, only 12 had made it through the initial phase. Sarah had been the only woman. She had endured the same physical requirements as her male counterparts, carried the same equipment loads, and completed the same tactical exercises. When instructors had pushed candidates to their breaking point during survival training, she had not only survived but excelled, demonstrating an ability to think clearly under extreme stress that impressed even the most seasoned veterans. Her shooting scores had been exceptional. During advanced marksmanship training, she had consistently placed in the top 3% of all candidates. Her instructors noted her ability to make precise shots under conditions that would rattle experienced snipers. Moving targets at extended ranges, low-light conditions, and high-stress scenarios had all become second nature to her. But what set her apart was not just her technical skill, but her ability to remain calm and focused when chaos erupted around her. The psychological evaluations had been perhaps the most challenging aspect of her preparation. Military psychologists had put her through scenarios designed to test her decision-making under extreme pressure. They had questioned her motivations, probed her mental resilience, and challenged every assumption she had about herself and her capabilities. Through it all, she had maintained the quiet confidence that had carried her through every challenge in her military career. As she walked across the compound toward the operations center, Sarah was acutely aware of the conversations that seemed to pause as she passed. The special operations community was small and insular, and word of her assignment had preceded her arrival. Some of the looks she received were curious, others skeptical. A few were openly hostile. She had expected this reception and had prepared herself mentally for the challenges that lay ahead. The operations center was a study in controlled chaos. Multiple screens displayed satellite feeds, drone footage, and tactical maps. Radio chatter filled the air as various teams checked in from positions across the region. The smell of strong coffee mixed with the electronic ozone of sophisticated communications equipment. This was the nerve center of operations that reached across hundreds of square miles of some of the most dangerous terrain in the world. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the center of it all, his presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. At 38, he was young for his position, but his reputation had been earned through years of successful missions in some of the most challenging environments the military had to offer. His team respected him not just for his tactical brilliance, but for his unwavering commitment to bringing every operator home alive. Morrison had built his reputation on attention to detail and flawless execution. His missions were planned with obsessive precision, and he expected the same level of excellence from every member of his team. He had handpicked each operator based on their proven performance in combat situations. The introduction of a new team member, especially one without extensive combat experience, represented a disruption to the carefully balanced dynamics he had spent years perfecting. When Sarah was introduced to the team, Morrison's acknowledgement was professional but cool. He reviewed her credentials with the same thoroughness he applied to mission planning, but she could sense his reservations. Her training scores were impressive, her academic background was solid, and her instructors had provided glowing recommendations. But none of that changed the fact that she was an unknown quantity in an environment where trust had to be earned through shared experience under fire. The team briefing that followed her arrival set the tone for what would be a challenging integration period. Morrison outlined the current operational tempo, the specific threats they were facing, and the standards he expected from every team member. His words were directed to the entire group, but Sarah felt as though each point was aimed specifically at her. The message was clear: exceptional performance was the minimum acceptable standard, and There was no room for anything less than perfection. Over the following days, Sarah found herself navigating a complex social dynamic within the team. The other operators were professionals who understood the importance of unit cohesion, but they were also human beings with natural skepticism about someone who had not yet proven herself in their world. Some were openly welcoming, recognizing her qualifications and giving her the benefit of the doubt. Others maintained a polite distance, waiting to see how she would perform when the stakes were real. The training exercises that Morrison designed seemed specifically crafted to test her limits. Room-clearing drills were conducted at a pace that would have been challenging for experienced operators. Navigation exercises took place in the most difficult terrain available. Marksmanship training included scenarios that pushed the boundaries of what was considered realistic. Each exercise was an opportunity to prove herself, but also a chance to fail in front of the team she was trying to join. Sarah approached each challenge with methodical preparation and focused execution. She studied the tactical procedures until she could execute them flawlessly. She spent extra time on the firing range, honing her already impressive skills to an even higher level. She volunteered for additional training opportunities and sought out advice from the more experienced operators who were willing to share their knowledge. Her performance during these training exercises was consistently strong, but she could sense that it was not enough to fully earn Morrison's confidence. He acknowledged her competence with professional courtesy, but there was an emotional distance that she could not bridge. She began to realize that no amount of training or preparation would be sufficient to prove herself in his eyes. What she needed was an opportunity to demonstrate her capabilities in actual combat conditions. The region where they were operating presented no shortage of such opportunities. Intelligence reports indicated increased enemy activity along several key supply routes. Hostile forces were adapting their tactics to counter the effectiveness of coalition operations, leading to more sophisticated and dangerous encounters. Each mission briefing revealed new challenges that would test the skills and teamwork of even the most experienced units. Sarah threw herself into mission preparation with the same intensity she had brought to her training. She studied intelligence reports, familiarized herself with the terrain they would be operating in, and reviewed the tactical procedures that might be required. She knew that her first real mission with the team would be crucial in establishing her credibility and earning the trust of her fellow operators. The compound buzzed with activity as teams rotated in and out of operations. Sarah observed the rhythm of combat deployments, the careful balance between preparation and execution that defined successful special operations. She watched Morrison coordinate multiple missions simultaneously, his ability to track complex tactical situations while maintaining awareness of each team member's status and capabilities. It was clear why he had earned his reputation as one of the most effective commanders in the special operations community. As her integration period continued, Sarah began to understand the deeper dynamics of the team Morrison had assembled. Each operator brought specific skills and experiences that complemented the others, creating a unit that was more effective than the sum of its parts. The challenge for her was not just proving her individual capabilities, but demonstrating how she could contribute to the team's overall effectiveness. The breakthrough moment she was waiting for came sooner than expected. Intelligence reports indicated that a high-value target had been located in a compound approximately 50 kilometers from their base. The mission would require a rapid insertion, precise execution, and quick extraction through potentially hostile territory. It was exactly the type of operation that would test every skill she had developed and every lesson she had learned. Morrison's briefing for the mission was characteristically thorough. He outlined the intelligence they had gathered, the tactical approach they would use, and the potential complications they might face. Each team member was assigned specific responsibilities that played to their strengths and experience. Sarah found herself assigned to Overwatch duties, a position that would allow her to contribute to the mission's success while working within the structure Morrison had established. The night before the mission, Sarah conducted her final preparations with the same attention to detail that had characterized her entire military career. She checked and rechecked her equipment, reviewed the mission parameters one more time, and mentally rehearsed the various scenarios they might encounter. She understood that this mission represented more than just another operation. It was her opportunity to prove that she belonged among the elite operators who made up Morrison's team. As she lay in her bunk that night, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. The years of training, the countless hours of preparation, and the personal sacrifices she had made to reach this level of the special operations community had all led to this moment. Tomorrow, she would have the chance to demonstrate that her presence on the team was not just warranted, but valuable. The pre-dawn hours brought the familiar rhythm of mission preparation. Equipment was loaded, communications were tested, and final coordination was completed with supporting elements. Sarah moved through these preparations with practiced efficiency, her focus narrowed to the essential details that would determine the mission's success. She could feel the weight of expectation from her teammates, but she had learned to channel that pressure into heightened performance rather than allowing it to become a distraction. Morrison's final briefing covered the tactical timeline, emergency procedures, and coordination protocols. His words were precise and confident, reflecting the thorough planning that had gone into every aspect of the operation. Sarah listened carefully, knowing that her understanding of these details could make the difference between success and failure in the hours ahead. As the team moved toward their insertion point, Sarah felt the familiar combination of anticipation and focused calm that preceded combat operations. She had trained extensively for this moment, but she knew that no amount of preparation could completely replicate the reality of facing armed enemies who were fighting for their lives. What she brought to this mission was not just her technical skills, but the mental toughness and adaptability that would allow her to perform effectively regardless of how the situation developed. The helicopter ride to the insertion point gave her time for final mental preparation. She reviewed the mission objectives, confirmed her understanding of her role within the team structure, and prepared herself for the various contingencies they had discussed. The landscape below was a mixture of rocky terrain and scattered vegetation that would provide both cover and concealment for hostile forces. It was terrain that favored defenders, which meant the team would need to rely on speed, precision, and superior tactics to accomplish their objectives. As they approached the insertion point, Sarah could feel the shift in the team's energy. The casual conversation and equipment checks gave way to focused silence and final tactical preparations. Each operator settled into the mental state that would carry them through the mission ahead. For Sarah, this moment represented the culmination of everything she had worked toward in her military career. The insertion itself went smoothly, with the team moving quickly from the helicopter to their initial positions. Sarah took her assigned Overwatch position and began the careful process of scanning the area for any signs of enemy activity. Through her scope, she could see the target compound approximately 800 meters away. The intelligence they had received appeared to be accurate, with guard positions and defensive arrangements matching their expectations. Morrison's voice came through her earpiece as he coordinated the team's movement toward the objective. His tactical decisions were precise and confident, reflecting his experience and the thorough planning they had completed. Sarah maintained her focus on her assigned sector, knowing that her vigilance could provide early warning of threats that might endanger the entire team. The mission was progressing according to plan when everything suddenly changed. What had appeared to be a routine operation was about to become something entirely different, presenting challenges that would test every skill Sarah had developed and every lesson she had learned. The moment she had been preparing for was about to arrive, and, with it, the opportunity to prove that she deserved her place among the elite operators of the special operations community. The quiet efficiency of the team's movement toward the objective was suddenly interrupted by the distinctive crack of rifle fire. Sarah's training kicked in immediately as she began scanning for the source of the shots, while simultaneously assessing the threat to her teammates. What she saw through her scope would change everything about how Commander Morrison and the rest of the team viewed her capabilities and her place within their elite unit. The rifle crack that shattered the pre-dawn silence came from a direction that none of their intelligence had indicated as a threat. Sarah's scope immediately swung toward the sound, her training taking over as she began the systematic process of identifying and engaging the source. What she saw made her blood run cold. A squad of enemy fighters had positioned themselves in a cluster of rocks approximately 400 meters from the team's approach route, creating a perfect ambush position that threatened to destroy the entire operation. Through her earpiece, Sarah could hear Morrison's voice maintaining its characteristic calm as he assessed the situation and began issuing orders to reposition the team. But, even as he spoke, she could see additional muzzle flashes erupting from positions that hadn't been identified in their pre-mission intelligence. The enemy had prepared this ambush carefully, using the terrain to create interlocking fields of fire that would make movement extremely dangerous for Morrison's team. Sarah's mind raced through the tactical options available to them. The team's planned route to the objective was now completely compromised, and enemy positions commanded the high ground that would be essential for any alternate approach. Worse yet, the positioning of the hostile forces suggested that this was not a chance encounter, but a carefully planned trap designed to exploit the predictable tactics that special operations teams typically employed. Her scope settled on the lead enemy position, where a fighter was setting up what appeared to be a heavy machine gun that would make any movement by Morrison's team virtually impossible. The range was challenging, made more difficult by the low light conditions and the need for absolute precision in her first shot. A miss would alert the entire enemy force to her position and eliminate any chance of providing effective support for her teammates. Morrison's voice came through her earpiece again, this time with a slight edge of tension that reflected the deteriorating tactical situation. He was ordering the team to hold their positions while he assessed their options, but Sarah could see through her scope that time was running out. Additional enemy fighters were moving into positions that would complete the encirclement of Morrison's team, turning what had started as a surgical strike into a potential disaster. The decision Sarah faced in that moment would define not just her own future within the special operations community, but potentially the survival of every member of Morrison's team. Her orders were to provide overwatch and support, not to engage targets independently. But the tactical reality she was observing through her scope made it clear that following standard procedures might result in casualties that could be prevented by immediate action on her part. Her first shot took the machine gunner cleanly, the suppressed rifle barely making a sound as the target dropped behind the rocky position. Sarah immediately began scanning for her next target, her mind calculating ranges and wind conditions with the mechanical precision that had made her such an effective marksman during training. The enemy fighters had not yet realized they were under fire from a sniper, giving her precious seconds to continue her engagement. The second target was a fighter who appeared to be coordinating the ambush, speaking rapidly into a radio while pointing toward Morrison's position. Sarah's shot eliminated him before he could complete his communication, potentially preventing the arrival of reinforcements that would make the situation even more desperate. Her scope was already moving toward the third target when she heard Morrison's voice in her earpiece, sharp with surprise and something that might have been approval. What followed was a demonstration of marksmanship and tactical thinking that would be discussed in special operations training facilities for years to come. Sarah's training had prepared her for long-range precision shooting, but the situation she faced required her to engage multiple targets in rapid succession while maintaining the accuracy necessary to eliminate specific threats without alerting the entire enemy force to her presence. Her third shot neutralized a fighter who was in the process of flanking Morrison's team, while her fourth eliminated a sniper who had taken position to cover the team's potential escape routes. Each shot was calculated not just for its immediate effect, but for its impact on the overall tactical situation. Sarah was not simply shooting at targets. She was systematically dismantling an enemy force that threatened to destroy her team. The enemy fighters were beginning to realize they were under attack, but their confusion about the source and direction of the fire gave Sarah additional opportunities to continue her engagement. Her fifth and sixth shots eliminated fighters who were attempting to establish communications with other enemy units, while her seventh shot neutralized a target who was setting up an anti-tank weapon that could have been devastating against any vehicles that might be used in an extraction. Morrison's voice came through her earpiece again, this time with clear admiration as he acknowledged her effective support. But Sarah barely heard his words, completely focused on the tactical picture she was seeing through her scope. Additional enemy positions were becoming visible as fighters moved to respond to the attack, creating new targets that needed to be prioritized based on their threat to the team's mission and survival. Her eighth shot eliminated a fighter who was attempting to call for air support, while her ninth neutralized a squad leader who was trying to organize a coordinated response to the sniper attack. Each engagement required split-second calculations of range, wind drift, and target movement, but Sarah's training had prepared her for exactly these conditions. What made her performance exceptional was not just her marksmanship, but her ability to think tactically while maintaining the precision necessary for long-range shots. The 10th and 11th shots came in rapid succession as Sarah engaged two fighters who had identified her general position and were attempting to bring fire to bear on her location. These shots required her to expose herself to return fire, but her positioning and the suppressed nature of her rifle gave her crucial advantages in the engagement. Both targets were eliminated before they could effectively engage her position. Her 12th and final shot of the engagement eliminated a fighter who had been coordinating the overall enemy response. With his elimination, the remaining hostile forces lost their tactical cohesion and began to withdraw from their positions. In less than 5 minutes, Sarah had neutralized 12 enemy fighters and completely disrupted an ambush that could have resulted in significant casualties among Morrison's team. The immediate aftermath of the engagement was characterized by the professional efficiency that defined special operations teams. Morrison quickly reorganized his team's approach to the objective, taking advantage of the tactical opportunity that Sarah's intervention had created. The primary mission could now proceed as planned, but the dynamic within the team had changed fundamentally. Morrison's voice in her earpiece carried a tone that Sarah had not heard before as he acknowledged her performance and coordinated the team's movement toward their original objective. There was respect in his words, but also something deeper, the recognition that his initial assessment of her capabilities had been incomplete. The tactical situation had required immediate action, and Sarah had demonstrated not just technical skill, but the judgment and initiative that separated truly exceptional operators from merely competent ones. As the team moved toward the target compound, Sarah maintained her overwatch position, but her role within the team structure had evolved beyond what any of them had anticipated. Her demonstration of tactical awareness and precision marksmanship had established her credibility in a way that months of training exercises could never have accomplished. She had proven herself under the ultimate test, actual combat conditions where lives hung in the balance. The target compound proved to be exactly as described in their intelligence reports, and the team's assault proceeded with the precision and efficiency that Morrison's units were known for. The primary objective was secured without additional complications, but everyone involved understood that the mission's success had been made possible by Sarah's intervention during the initial ambush. Her 12 precisely placed shots had eliminated a threat that could have derailed the entire operation. During the extraction phase of the mission, Sarah found herself receiving acknowledgments from team members who had previously maintained professional distance. The special operations community respected competence above all else, and her performance had demonstrated a level of skill and tactical thinking that commanded immediate recognition. But, more importantly, she had shown that she could be trusted to make critical decisions under pressure and execute them flawlessly. The helicopter ride back to the base gave Sarah time to process what had just occurred. She had spent months preparing for the opportunity to prove herself to Morrison's team, but the actual moment had come in circumstances that none of their training had anticipated. The enemy's ambush had created a tactical problem that required immediate solution, and her response had determined not just her own future within the team, but potentially the survival of her teammates. Morrison's debriefing of the mission focused on the tactical lessons learned and the operational successes achieved, but Sarah could see that his assessment of her capabilities had fundamentally changed. The professional distance that had characterized their interactions was being replaced by the kind of trust and respect that formed the foundation of effective special operations teams. She had earned her place not through credentials or training scores, but through demonstrated performance under the most demanding conditions possible. The days following the mission brought a noticeable change in the team's dynamic. Sarah found herself included in tactical discussions that had previously been limited to the most senior operators. Her input on mission planning was solicited and valued, reflecting the recognition that her tactical thinking was as sharp as her marksmanship skills. The integration that had seemed so difficult to achieve through training exercises had been accomplished in a single combat engagement. Morrison's approach to her participation in future missions also evolved significantly. Rather than assigning her to support roles designed to minimize risk and prove her basic competence, he began incorporating her unique skills into mission planning from the earliest stages. Her demonstrated ability to provide precision fire support opened tactical possibilities that had not been available to the team previously. The intelligence community took note of the mission's success and the unique circumstances that had made it possible. Sarah's performance during the ambush became the subject of detailed analysis, not just for its tactical brilliance, but for its implications regarding the integration of highly skilled operators into existing team structures. Her success demonstrated that exceptional individual performance could enhance team effectiveness rather than disrupting it. The enemy forces operating in their area of responsibility also took notice of the mission's outcome. Intelligence reports indicated that hostile units were revising their tactical approaches in response to the demonstrated precision fire capabilities that Morrison's team could bring to bear. Sarah's 12 shots had not just eliminated immediate threats. They had forced enemy commanders to reconsider their operational assumptions and tactical procedures. For Sarah personally, the mission represented a transformation that went beyond simple professional advancement. She had proven to herself that all the training and preparation she had undergone could be translated into effective performance under actual combat conditions. The confidence that came from this knowledge would influence every aspect of her future service with the Special Operations community. Morrison's leadership style with regard to Sarah also underwent a subtle but significant change. He had built his reputation on careful assessment of his team members' capabilities and deployment of those skills in ways that maximized mission success. Sarah's performance had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded his initial evaluation, and he began incorporating those enhanced capabilities into his tactical planning process. The team's next mission assignment came within days of their return from the successful compound assault. Intelligence had identified another high-value target that required immediate attention, but this operation would take place in terrain that was even more challenging than their previous assignment. Morrison's planning for this mission would reflect his new understanding of Sarah's capabilities and her ability to contribute to the team's overall effectiveness. As Sarah prepared for this next operation, she found herself in a fundamentally different position within the team structure. Her proven combat performance had eliminated the uncertainty that had characterized her initial assignment to Morrison's unit. She was no longer the unknown quantity that needed to prove herself. She was an integral part of a team that had learned to trust her judgment and rely on her unique skills. The respect she had earned extended beyond her immediate team to the broader Special Operations community. Word of her performance during the ambush had spread through the informal networks that connected elite units, and her reputation was beginning to establish itself based on demonstrated capability rather than potential. This recognition would open doors to advanced training opportunities and specialized assignments that reflected her growing status within the community. Morrison's own perspective on team composition and capability assessment was also evolving as a result of working with Sarah. Her integration into the team had challenged some of his assumptions about how individual skills translated into team effectiveness, and her performance had demonstrated the value of maintaining open-minded assessment of new team members' potential contributions. The broader implications of Sarah's successful integration into Morrison's team were being studied by military leadership responsible for special operations policy and training. Her experience provided a case study in effective integration of highly skilled operators into existing team structures, with lessons that could be applied to future personnel assignments and training programs. As they prepared for their next mission, both Sarah and Morrison understood that their professional relationship had evolved into something deeper than simple command authority and operational competence. They had developed the kind of mutual trust and respect that enabled special operations teams to accomplish missions that seemed impossible under conventional operational approaches. The mission briefing for their next operation took place 3 days after their return from the compound assault. As Sarah entered the operations center, she immediately sensed a different atmosphere than she had experienced during previous briefings. The other team members acknowledged her presence with the easy familiarity that marked acceptance within their tight-knit community, and Morrison's greeting carried the warmth of genuine respect rather than professional courtesy. The intelligence officer presenting their target package was a veteran analyst whose assessments had guided some of the most successful operations in the theater. His briefing outlined a complex situation involving a network of enemy commanders who had been coordinating attacks against coalition forces throughout the region. The intelligence indicated that these leaders would be meeting at a remote location that presented significant tactical challenges for any assault team. Morrison listened to the briefing with his characteristic attention to detail, asking pointed questions that revealed his deep understanding of tactical possibilities and limitations. But Sarah noticed that several of his questions related specifically to opportunities for long-range precision fire support, reflecting his new appreciation for the capabilities she brought to the team. Her demonstrated performance during the previous mission had clearly influenced his tactical thinking. The target location was a compound situated in mountainous terrain that offered excellent defensive advantages to anyone occupying it. Traditional assault approaches would require the team to advance across open ground under observation from elevated positions, creating unacceptable risk of casualties. The geography that made the location attractive to enemy commanders also made it extremely challenging for conventional special operations tactics. As the briefing continued, Sarah began to understand the specific role that Morrison was envisioning for her in this operation. The mountainous terrain that created challenges for a direct assault also provided opportunities for a skilled marksman to establish positions that could dominate the target area. Her ability to provide precision fire support could potentially neutralize key threats before the main assault team moved into position. The planning session that followed the intelligence briefing was unlike any Sarah had previously experienced with Morrison's team. Rather than receiving specific assignments based on predetermined tactical approaches, she found herself actively participating in the development of the mission concept. Morrison solicited her input on positioning options, engagement ranges, and coordination requirements in a way that demonstrated his confidence in her tactical judgment. Her analysis of the terrain and target layout revealed several potential sniper positions that could provide overlapping fields of fire on the compound. Each position offered specific advantages and limitations that would need to be carefully considered in the context of the overall mission timeline. The complexity of coordinating her movements with the main assault team's approach would require precise timing and flawless communication. Morrison's evolving tactical concept placed Sarah in a crucial role that would determine the mission's feasibility. Her ability to neutralize specific threats before the main assault commenced would create opportunities for the team to approach the objective using routes that would otherwise be too dangerous to attempt. The success of the entire operation would depend on her capacity to eliminate multiple targets in a coordinated sequence that supported the team's movement. The preparation phase for this mission was more intensive than anything Sarah had previously experienced. The precision required for her part of the operation demanded detailed study of the target area, calculation of engagement ranges under varying atmospheric conditions, and coordination rehearsals with the assault team that would ensure perfect timing. Every aspect of her preparation was scrutinized by Morrison and the team's senior operators. Sarah's equipment loadout for this mission reflected the specialized nature of her role. In addition to her standard sniper rifle, she would carry advanced optics systems that would allow her to maintain observation of the target area throughout the operation. Communication equipment specifically configured for coordination with the assault team would enable real-time tactical adjustments based on changing conditions at the objective. The physical demands of reaching her assigned position would test every aspect of her conditioning and endurance. The approach route required a difficult climb through terrain that offered little concealment from potential enemy observation. She would need to move her equipment and maintain her physical capability for precise shooting after completing an approach that would challenge even the most experienced mountain warfare specialists. Morrison's final briefing before the mission launch demonstrated the level of confidence he had developed in Sarah's abilities. Rather than providing detailed instructions for every aspect of her participation, he outlined the mission objectives and constraints while leaving the tactical execution of her role to her professional judgment. This level of operational autonomy was reserved for the team's most trusted and experienced operators. The insertion for this mission took place during a moonless night that provided maximum concealment for their movement. Sarah's approach to her designated position required her to separate from the main team early in the operation, creating an element of risk that Morrison would not have accepted without complete confidence in her capabilities. The success of her individual movement would determine whether the overall mission could proceed as planned. The climb to her position was every bit as challenging as their planning had indicated. Rocky terrain provided uncertain footing in the darkness, and the weight of her equipment made every step a test of balance and endurance. Sarah moved with methodical care, knowing that a single misstep could not only compromise her own safety, but potentially alert enemy forces to the team's presence in the area. Her designated sniper position was a rocky outcropping that provided excellent fields of fire on the target compound while offering good concealment from enemy observation. The position also allowed for multiple escape routes that could be used if her location was compromised during the operation. Sarah's arrival at this position marked the beginning of the most challenging phase of her special operations career. Through her scope, the target compound was clearly visible in the valley below. Intelligence reports had accurately described the layout and defensive positions, but seeing the actual terrain through her optics allowed Sarah to refine her understanding of engagement angles and target priorities. The enemy's defensive arrangements showed sophisticated tactical thinking that would make the assault team's approach extremely dangerous without effective fire support. Morrison's voice in her earpiece confirmed that the main team had reached their initial positions and was preparing to begin their approach to the objective. The coordination of their movement with her fire support mission would require split-second timing and flawless execution. Any mistake in communication or timing could result in casualties among her teammates or compromise the mission's chances of success. Sarah's first targets were sentries positioned to observe the most likely approaches to the compound. These guards represented the enemy's early warning system, and their elimination would be essential to allowing Morrison's team to close on the objective without being detected. Each shot would need to be precisely timed to prevent any of the sentries from alerting the main enemy force to the impending assault. The environmental conditions for her shots were challenging, but not impossible. Wind speed and direction were variable due to the mountainous terrain, requiring constant adjustment of her aim points. The range to most targets was at the extreme limit of what could be considered reliable for precision shooting, but Sarah's training and demonstrated capabilities made these shots achievable with careful execution. Her first engagement eliminated the northernmost sentry with a single shot that dropped the target before he could react. Sarah immediately shifted to her second target, a guard position to cover the compound's main entrance. This shot required adjustment for both range and wind conditions, but the target was eliminated as efficiently as the first. Her systematic approach to neutralizing the enemy's observation posts was proceeding exactly as planned. Morrison's team began their final approach to the compound as Sarah engaged her third and fourth targets. These shots eliminated sentries who could have observed the assault team's movement and provided early warning to the main enemy force. The coordination between her fire support and the team's tactical movement represented special operations teamwork at its most effective level. The main enemy force within the compound began to react to the disappearance of their sentries, but their response was hampered by uncertainty about the nature and direction of the threat they faced. Sarah's suppressed rifle had provided no indication of her position, and the precision of her shots suggested a level of capability that the enemy commanders had not anticipated. As Morrison's team reached their final assault positions, Sarah shifted her focus to targets that could threaten the assault itself. Machine gun positions and command posts within the compound became her priority as the operation entered its most critical phase. Her ability to neutralize these threats would determine whether the assault could succeed without heavy casualties. The assault commenced with the explosive precision that characterized Morrison's operations. But the team's ability to move quickly through the compound's defensive positions was made possible by Sarah's elimination of key threats during the approach phase. Her 12 precisely placed shots had created tactical advantages that allowed the main assault to proceed with minimal resistance. The primary objectives were secured within minutes of the assault's commencement, and the high-value targets that had been the mission's focus were captured without the casualties that many had feared would be inevitable. Sarah's role in creating the conditions for this success was acknowledged immediately by Morrison and understood by every member of the team who had participated in the operation. During the extraction phase, Sarah rejoined the main team after completing her own movement from the sniper position. The welcome she received from her teammates reflected their recognition that her contribution had been essential to the mission's success. The professional respect that had begun with her performance during the ambush was now solidified by her flawless execution of an even more demanding assignment. Morrison's after-action debrief highlighted the tactical innovations that had made the mission possible. The integration of long-range precision fire support with close-quarters assault tactics had created capabilities that neither approach could have achieved independently. Sarah's role in developing and executing this integrated approach marked her as a tactical innovator as well as a skilled marksman. The intelligence gathered during the compound assault provided valuable insights into enemy command structures and operational plans throughout the region. The success of this mission would have strategic implications that extended far beyond the immediate tactical objectives, and Sarah's contribution to that success established her reputation within the broader special operations community. Letters of commendation from senior commanders recognized not just Sarah's technical skills, but her contribution to tactical innovation and team effectiveness. Her integration into Morrison's unit was being studied as a model for how exceptional individual capabilities could be leveraged to enhance team performance rather than disrupting established dynamics. Morrison's leadership approach had evolved significantly through his experience working with Sarah. Her capabilities had challenged his assumptions about team composition and tactical possibilities, leading him to develop more flexible and innovative approaches to mission planning. The success of their recent operations demonstrated the value of maintaining openness to new tactical possibilities. For Sarah, These missions represented the achievement of goals she had set for herself when she first decided to pursue a career in special operations. But, more importantly, they had proven that her capabilities could contribute meaningfully to missions that protected coalition forces and advanced strategic objectives in one of the world's most challenging operational environments. The team's next assignment would present even greater challenges, but Sarah approached it with the confidence that came from proven performance under the most demanding conditions. Her place within Morrison's team was no longer in question, and her reputation within the special operations community was established based on demonstrated capability and tactical innovation. As they prepared for future operations, both Sarah and Morrison understood that their professional partnership had evolved into something that enhanced both their individual capabilities and their collective effectiveness. The trust and mutual respect they had developed through shared combat experience created the foundation for tactical approaches that neither could have achieved working independently. The success of Sarah's precision fire support during their recent missions had not gone unnoticed by higher command elements throughout the special operations community. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy forces were adapting their tactics specifically in response to the demonstrated capabilities of Morrison's team, leading to requests for their involvement in increasingly complex and sensitive operations. The partnership between Morrison's tactical leadership and Sarah's specialized skills was becoming a strategic asset that commanders wanted to leverage across the theater. 3 weeks after the mountain compound assault, Sarah found herself in a secure briefing room with Morrison and representatives from multiple special operations commands. The operation they were being asked to undertake would require capabilities that existed nowhere else in the theater, and the strategic importance of the mission meant that failure was not an acceptable outcome. The briefers made it clear that this assignment represented both an opportunity and a test that would influence future operational planning throughout the region. The target was an enemy commander whose capture would provide intelligence that could disrupt networks responsible for some of the most sophisticated attacks against coalition forces. This individual had evaded previous capture attempts through careful operational security and the use of bodyguards and defensive measures that made conventional assault approaches extremely difficult. The compound where he was located presented tactical challenges that had defeated 2 previous attempts by other special operations teams. What made this mission particularly complex was the presence of civilian populations in the immediate area. Any tactical approach would need to minimize the risk of civilian casualties while maintaining the precision necessary to capture the target alive. The compound's location within a populated area also meant that extended firefights could have strategic consequences that went far beyond the immediate tactical situation. Morrison's analysis of previous failed attempts revealed tactical approaches that had been predictable and therefore vulnerable to the sophisticated countermeasures the target employed. The enemy commander had studied special operations tactics and had positioned his security forces to exploit the assumptions and standard procedures that most teams relied upon. Success would require tactical innovation that went beyond conventional special operations approaches. Sarah's role in developing the tactical solution for this mission represented a significant evolution in how her capabilities were being integrated into mission planning. Rather than simply providing fire support for predetermined assault approaches, she was being asked to help design entirely new tactical concepts that leveraged her unique skills to create possibilities that had not existed before. The compound's defensive arrangements had been designed by someone with intimate knowledge of how special operations teams typically conducted assault operations. Guard positions covered all conventional approach routes. Communication systems provided immediate alert capabilities, and the physical layout of buildings created defensive advantages that would make any direct assault extremely costly. The enemy had learned from previous encounters and had adapted their defensive strategies accordingly. Sarah's analysis of the tactical problem revealed opportunities that had not been apparent to planners who thought in terms of conventional assault approaches. Her ability to provide precision fire support from extended ranges opened possibilities for tactical deception and misdirection that could potentially overcome the defensive advantages the enemy had established. The key was coordinating multiple elements in ways that would overwhelm the enemy's ability to respond effectively. The plan that emerged from their collaborative planning sessions was unlike anything either Sarah or Morrison had previously attempted. It required precise coordination between multiple team elements operating in different locations, each playing specific roles in a complex tactical sequence. The success of each element depended on the performance of all others, creating a mission where individual excellence had to be perfectly synchronized with team cooperation. Morrison's confidence in Sarah's capabilities was now absolute, but this mission would test both her technical skills and her ability to adapt to unexpected developments under extreme pressure. The tactical timeline allowed no margin for error, and any failure in execution could result in mission failure and potential casualties among both team members and civilian populations. The preparation phase for this operation was the most intensive either of them had experienced. Every aspect of the plan was rehearsed repeatedly under conditions that simulated the stress and complexity they would face during actual execution. Sarah's shooting positions were analyzed from multiple perspectives to ensure she could engage all required targets while maintaining concealment from enemy observation and civilian view. Her equipment loadout for this mission represented the most advanced capabilities available to Special Operations Forces. In addition to her primary sniper system, she would carry specialized observation equipment that would allow her to maintain real-time awareness of the entire tactical situation. Communication systems would enable instant coordination with multiple team elements while maintaining the operational security essential to mission success. The physical and mental demands of this operation would exceed anything Sarah had previously faced in her military career. She would need to maintain peak performance over an extended period while operating in an environment where enemy countermeasures could force rapid adaptation of her tactical approach. The psychological pressure of knowing that mission success and team safety depended on her performance created challenges that went beyond simple technical execution. Morrison's final briefing emphasized the strategic importance of their mission while acknowledging the exceptional demands it would place on every team member. His confidence in their collective ability to succeed was based on their demonstrated performance in previous operations, but he also understood that this mission would test capabilities that had never been challenged at this level before. The insertion phase of the operation required Sarah to establish her primary position several hours before the main assault was scheduled to commence. This extended period alone in potentially hostile territory represented a psychological challenge as well as a tactical one. She would need to maintain perfect concealment while conducting detailed observation of the target area, all while knowing that discovery could compromise the entire mission. Her movement to the designated position took her through urban terrain that required different skills than the mountain and desert environments where she had previously operated. Navigation through populated areas while avoiding detection by either hostile forces or civilian populations demanded careful timing and flawless execution of movement techniques adapted to this unique environment. The sniper position she established provided comprehensive observation of the target compound while remaining concealed from multiple directions. From this location, Sarah could observe all the defensive positions identified during mission planning while maintaining the ability to engage targets throughout the compound area. The position also offered multiple escape routes that could be used if her location was compromised during the operation. Through her advanced optics system, Sarah began the detailed observation that would guide the final tactical decisions for the assault. The intelligence they had received proved to be accurate in most respects, but her real-time observation revealed additional defensive measures and guard positions that had not been previously identified. This information was immediately relayed to Morrison and incorporated into the tactical plan. The enemy's defensive preparations showed sophisticated understanding of special operations capabilities and limitations. Guard rotations were irregular and unpredictable. Communications procedures appeared to include authentication protocols that would make tactical deception difficult, and the physical positioning of defensive elements showed careful consideration of how to counter the advantages that assault teams typically relied upon. As the mission timeline approached the critical phase, Sarah's observations revealed changes in the compound's activity patterns that suggested the presence of their primary target. Additional security personnel had taken positions around the main building, and communications activity had increased significantly. These indicators confirmed that the intelligence regarding the target's presence was accurate and that the mission could proceed as planned. Morrison's voice in her earpiece confirmed that all assault elements were in position and prepared to commence the operation on her signal. The coordination of their movement with her precision fire mission represented the culmination of months of tactical development and the ultimate test of their ability to function as an integrated team under the most demanding conditions possible. Sarah's engagement sequence began with the elimination of external sentries whose positions would allow them to observe the assault team's approach. These shots required absolute precision, as any alert to the main defensive force would compromise the tactical surprise essential to mission success. Each engagement was timed to coincide with the assault team's movement, creating a synchronized tactical sequence that overwhelmed the enemy's ability to respond. The complexity of coordinating multiple tactical elements while maintaining precision in her shooting required Sarah to demonstrate capabilities that went far beyond simple marksmanship. She was simultaneously conducting tactical observation, coordinating fire support, and engaging multiple targets in a sequence that had to be perfectly timed with the assault team's movement. Any error in timing or accuracy could have catastrophic consequences for the entire operation. Morrison's team moved through the compound with the efficiency that had become their trademark, but their success was made possible by Sarah's systematic elimination of threats that would have made their approach impossible. Her 12 precisely placed shots created tactical advantages at each critical point in the assault sequence, allowing the team to maintain momentum while minimizing exposure to enemy fire. The capture of their primary target was accomplished without civilian casualties and with minimal resistance from his security forces. The tactical surprise achieved through their coordinated approach had prevented the enemy from implementing defensive measures that had defeated previous attempts. Sarah's contribution to creating this tactical advantage was acknowledged immediately by every member of the assault team. The intelligence recovered during this operation provided insights into enemy networks that had implications throughout the theater. Strategic planners would use this information to develop operations that could significantly degrade enemy capabilities across the entire region. The success of this mission represented not just a tactical victory, but a strategic breakthrough that would influence the course of the broader conflict. Morrison's leadership throughout this operation demonstrated tactical innovation and adaptability that established him as one of the most effective special operations commanders in the theater. His ability to recognize and leverage Sarah's unique capabilities had created tactical possibilities that did not exist elsewhere, and his willingness to challenge conventional approaches had produced results that exceeded all expectations. For Sarah, this mission represented the achievement of recognition as a tactical innovator whose capabilities could influence strategic outcomes. Her integration into Morrison's team had evolved from proving her basic competence to demonstrating leadership in developing new tactical approaches that enhanced the effectiveness of special operations throughout the region. The lessons learned from their successful operations were being incorporated into training programs and tactical doctrine that would influence special operations for years to come. Sarah's role in developing these innovations established her as more than just a skilled operator. She was becoming a leader whose ideas would shape how future missions were planned and executed. As they prepared for their next assignment, both Sarah and Morrison understood that their partnership had created capabilities that neither could have achieved independently. Their success represented more than individual excellence. It demonstrated the potential for tactical innovation when exceptional skills were combined with leadership that was willing to challenge conventional approaches and explore new possibilities. 6 months after her first mission with Morrison's team, Sarah found herself standing in the same operations center where she had initially felt the weight of skeptical stares and unspoken doubts. The atmosphere now was entirely different. Her presence commanded the same respect accorded to the team's most senior operators, and her input on tactical matters was sought by commanders throughout the special operations community. The transformation in her status reflected not just personal achievement, but a fundamental shift in how the military leadership understood the potential for individual excellence to enhance team effectiveness. The mission briefing that brought the team together on this particular morning involved a target that represented the culmination of months of intelligence gathering and strategic planning. Enemy forces had been developing capabilities that could significantly threaten coalition operations throughout the region, and the intelligence community had finally identified the location where these capabilities were being tested and refined. The operation to neutralize this threat would require every skill the team had developed and push their tactical innovations to the absolute limit. Morrison's approach to mission planning had evolved significantly through his experience working with Sarah and observing how her unique capabilities could be integrated into complex tactical operations. He no longer thought in terms of conventional assault approaches modified to include sniper support. Instead, he developed entirely new tactical concepts that leveraged the full range of capabilities his team could bring to bear. This evolution in his tactical thinking had produced results that were being studied throughout the special operations community. The target complex for this mission was unlike anything they had previously encountered. Intelligence reports described a facility that combined sophisticated defensive measures with research and development capabilities that pose strategic threats extending far beyond their immediate operational area. The facility's location in remote terrain provided defensive advantages while also creating opportunities for tactical approaches that could exploit the isolation from enemy reinforcements. Sarah's role in this operation would test every capability she had developed throughout her special operations career. The mission required her to provide precision fire support over extended periods while operating in terrain that offered limited concealment and multiple opportunities for enemy countermeasures. The psychological pressure of knowing that strategic objectives depended on her individual performance created challenges that went beyond any technical demands she had previously faced. The preparation phase for this mission involved coordination with intelligence agencies, air support elements, and special operations teams from multiple nations. The complexity of managing these relationships while maintaining operational security demonstrated Morrison's evolution as a strategic leader whose influence extended far beyond his immediate team. Sarah's participation in these planning sessions reflected her recognition as a tactical expert whose insights were valued by the most senior commanders. Her equipment preparation involved systems that represented the cutting edge of military technology. Advanced optics allowed for target identification and engagement at ranges that had previously been considered impossible for precision shooting. Communication systems enabled real-time coordination with multiple elements operating across a tactical area that spanned dozens of square kilometers. The integration of these systems required technical expertise that went far beyond traditional marksmanship skills. The physical demands of reaching her assigned position for this mission would test every aspect of her conditioning and endurance. The approach required movement through terrain that offered numerous opportunities for enemy observation while providing minimal concealment for her own movement. The weight of equipment necessary for extended operations added to the challenge of maintaining the physical capability required for precision shooting after completing a demanding infiltration. Morrison's confidence in Sarah's abilities was now so complete that he assigned her tactical responsibilities that would have been reserved for only the most experienced team leaders in conventional special operations units. Her proven ability to adapt to unexpected developments and make sound tactical decisions under extreme pressure had established her as more than just a specialized operator. She had become a tactical leader whose judgment was trusted absolutely. The infiltration phase of the operation required Sarah to move independently through hostile territory for an extended period before establishing her primary position. This movement took her through terrain that had been extensively mapped by enemy forces and was subject to regular patrols by security elements that were specifically trained to detect special operations infiltration attempts. The successful completion of this infiltration would depend on skills that went far beyond those typically required for sniper operations. Her movement through the mountainous terrain was complicated by weather conditions that reduced visibility while also creating opportunities for concealment from enemy observation. Sarah used these conditions to mask her approach while carefully avoiding areas where her movement might be detected by the sophisticated surveillance systems the enemy had deployed throughout the region. Each decision about route selection and timing reflected tactical thinking that demonstrated her evolution from skilled marksman to tactical expert. The primary position she established provided comprehensive observation of the target facility while offering protection from the countermeasures that enemy forces would employ once they realized they were under attack. From this position, Sarah could engage targets throughout the facility complex while maintaining the concealment necessary to continue operations over the extended period the mission required. Through her advanced optics systems, Sarah conducted the detailed observation that would guide the tactical decisions for the entire operation. The intelligence they had received proved to be generally accurate, but her real-time assessment revealed operational patterns and defensive measures that had not been identified during the planning phase. This information was immediately shared with Morrison and incorporated into the tactical approach. The enemy facility showed evidence of sophisticated security measures that had been designed by someone with detailed knowledge of special operations capabilities and tactics. Defensive positions covered all obvious approach routes. Surveillance systems provided comprehensive coverage of the surrounding terrain, and the facility's personnel appeared to follow security procedures that would make conventional assault approaches extremely difficult. As the operation moved into its critical phase, Sarah's observations confirmed that the facility was conducting activities that posed strategic threats of the type that intelligence agencies had suspected. The presence of equipment and personnel associated with advanced weapons development made it clear that the mission's objectives were not just tactically important, but strategically essential for coalition security throughout the region. Morrison's assault team began their final approach to the facility as Sarah initiated her engagement sequence. The coordination between her precision fire support and the team's movement represented tactical integration at its most sophisticated level. Each shot she fired was timed to support specific elements of the team's advance, creating tactical advantages that allowed them to overcome defensive measures that would otherwise have been insurmountable. The complexity of engaging multiple targets while maintaining coordination with the assault team required Sarah to demonstrate capabilities that represented the absolute pinnacle of special operations performance. She was simultaneously conducting tactical observation, providing fire support, and adapting to rapidly changing conditions in ways that required split-second decision-making and flawless execution. The success of the entire operation depended on her ability to maintain this level of performance throughout the mission. Her systematic elimination of key defensive positions enabled Morrison's team to penetrate the facility's perimeter and gain access to the primary objectives. The precision of her shooting and the tactical timing of her engagements prevented the enemy from implementing defensive measures that had been specifically designed to counter special operations assault tactics. Each of her 12 shots eliminated threats that could have resulted in mission failure or significant casualties among the assault team. The assault team's advance through the facility proceeded with the efficiency that had become their trademark, but their success was made possible by Sarah's creation of tactical advantages at each critical point in their movement. Her ability to provide continuous fire support while adapting to changing tactical requirements demonstrated integration of individual skills with team objectives that represented special operations at its most effective. The primary objectives were secured without the casualties that many had feared would be inevitable given the sophisticated nature of the enemy's defensive preparations. The intelligence and materials recovered during the operation provided insights that would influence strategic planning throughout the theater and potentially impact national security decisions at the highest levels. Sarah's contribution to achieving these strategic objectives established her reputation at levels far beyond the special operations community. Morrison's leadership throughout this operation demonstrated tactical and strategic thinking that placed him among the most effective commanders in special operations history. His ability to recognize, develop, and leverage exceptional capabilities within his team had created tactical possibilities that did not exist elsewhere in the military. The success of their operations was being studied by military leadership worldwide as a model for how individual excellence could be integrated into team effectiveness. For Sarah, this mission represented the culmination of a journey that had begun with skeptical acceptance and had evolved into recognition as a tactical innovator whose capabilities influenced strategic outcomes. Her integration into Morrison's team had not only proven her individual worth, but had demonstrated how exceptional performance could enhance rather than disrupt established team dynamics. The strategic implications of their successful operation extended far beyond immediate tactical objectives. The capabilities they had neutralized would not threaten coalition forces, and the intelligence they had gathered would enable operations throughout the region that could significantly degrade enemy effectiveness. Their success represented a strategic victory that validated the investments in training and equipment that had made their tactical innovations possible. As they completed the mission debrief and prepared for future assignments, both Sarah and Morrison understood that their partnership had created something unique within the special operations community. Their success represented more than the sum of individual talents. It demonstrated the potential for tactical innovation when exceptional skills were combined with leadership that valued adaptation and continuous improvement. The recognition they received from senior military leadership acknowledged not just their tactical success, but their contribution to advancing special operations capabilities. Their methods were being incorporated into training programs that would influence the next generation of special operations personnel, ensuring that their innovations would continue to enhance military effectiveness long after their own careers had ended. Looking toward future challenges, both Sarah and Morrison approached new assignments with the confidence that came from proven performance at the highest levels of special operations. Their partnership had demonstrated that individual excellence and team effectiveness were not competing values, but complementary capabilities that could be integrated to achieve results that neither could accomplish independently. The trust and mutual respect they had developed through shared combat experience created the foundation for tactical approaches that continued to push the boundaries of what was considered possible in special operations warfare.